Good morning. Welcome to the October 3rd, 2017 meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court. We're glad you're with us today, and we will begin as we always do with an invocation, and joining us is Pastor of Presbyterian Church of Henderson, Mr. Eric Hoy, who please approach the podium, and please stand.
Let us pray. Holy and loving God, we come before you this morning, and we thank you for those whom you've called to serve this county. So, Lord, we pray for our leaders. We pray that you watch over their lives and protect them, that this day, as they make decisions on behalf of the people of this county, that you would give them wisdom and insight, and that they would hear your voice in the decisions they make. And Lord, lastly, we pause and we pray for the victims of Sunday night's shooting in Las Vegas. God, we pray that you would provide help, first responders, healing, hope, and your Holy Spirit of comfort in the midst of a very difficult and chaotic situation. And so, Lord, we pray for this meeting, and we pray that you would bless every item on this agenda and use it for your glory. For we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Hoy. I appreciate that very much. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Magistrate Wilkerson. Here. Magistrate Putman.
Here.
Magistrate Warren.
Here.
Magistrate Alexander.
Here.
And Magistrate Todd.
Here.
Gentlemen, you have in your packets the minutes of the September 19th, 2017 Fiscal Court meeting, and after a period of review, I'll entertain a motion to accept those.
Move to accept. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other corrections, additions, or clarifications? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
Magistrate Warren.
Aye.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
And Magistrate Todd.
We have with us today our Judges Scholar for the month of September from Bengate Elementary School, Mr. Ken Young, and we would like him to join us right here.
You are such a cutie. Whereas Ken Young has been chosen by Bengate Elementary School to be the recipient of the Judges Scholar Award because he made a choice to accept changes that would benefit his education and well-being. And whereas change is not always easy, however, Ken's ability to embrace change has led to growth that will only further his successes in life. And whereas success is measured in many different ways, whether it be passing a test, scoring the winning point, achieving a particular goal, or taking the necessary steps for overall improvement. And whereas the Henderson County school system could not let Ken's efforts go unnoticed. Whereas Henderson County Fiscal Court supports the school system and acknowledges these changes as being significant because students such as you, Ken, will be our future leaders. Now, therefore, I, Brad Schneider, County Judge Executive of Henderson, join with the Henderson County Fiscal Court to proclaim October 3rd, 2017 is Ken Young Day.
Always good to have a co-pilot for these meetings, and congratulations again, Ken. Glad you're with us. We have another couple folks we'd like to give some special recognition to today. Kentucky State Trooper Miles Scott and Henderson County Sheriff's Deputy Carol Morrow. We have proclamations for both of these fine gentlemen today for an incident, and what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about what happened that day and describe why we're applauding your efforts this morning. On the morning of September 9th, Mr. Morrow, Deputy Morrow, and Trooper Scott responded to a house on Nugent Drive where a young lady was non-responsive, no pulse, not breathing when the officers arrived. And Trooper Scott made it a point to let the Sheriff's Department know that Deputy Morrow went into immediate action to help this young lady. Feared overdosed, and he began CPR and attempted to help her breathe until medical personnel could arrive. Trooper Scott says that he truly believes, if not for the life support efforts of Deputy Morrow, that young lady might not be with us today. It also should be noted that Trooper Scott was also instrumental in helping that morning and doing everything he could to assist. And I know that both Sheriff Brady, your teammates at the Sheriff's Department, and our good friends at the Kentucky State Police Post here are proud of all your efforts that morning. That young lady, again, was able to survive this incident. I don't think it's a stretch to say that she would not have, if not for your brave actions. So what I'd like you to do is for you both to stand, and we're going to give you these proclamations. I'm not going to read through them both because they're very similar, but I'd like everybody to stand and give a rousing round of applause to Trooper Miles Scott and Deputy Carol Morrow. Come on up, guys. Sheriff Brady, would you like to sing?
Well, it's faith, okay. I'll talk pretty loud. That sounds like needless to say, these two young men, well, this one young man, an older guy, they represent law enforcement all across this country, but especially in this county. I know many of these troopers and, of course, all the deputies and many of the city policemen, and this is what they do. And a lot of times without fanfare, they didn't ask for this recognition. I just thought it was appropriate that we give it to them. So all the bad things you hear in the media, that happens occasionally, and that's why it's news. This is what happens a lot. And they represent the best of the state police and the best of the sheriff's office and the best of law enforcement. So we're proud of them. The citizens are well served by these people. They're out there 24/7 facing a lot of issues that we would only dream about in a nightmare. I'm very proud of them. And the rest of our people out here, we've got a contingent of officers who want to honor them also. So thank you for y'all recognizing them. And guys, we're proud of you, and we're proud of all of y'all back here. Thank you.
And Captain Schultz from State Police Post like to say a word or two?
Well, I'm not the least bit surprised that Sergeant Morrow stepping into action. I've known him since I started in police work in 1993, and he has always done his best everywhere he goes. So, and Trooper Scott has not been working with him as long as Sergeant Morrow, but he has always done his best, and we've recruited him, and so it's no surprise that these two stepped up and did what they did that day, and I'm very proud of them as well.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. I'd say that recognition is especially poignant in light of recent incidences around this country, and we appreciate everything both of you do, not only in this case, but every day. And so next I'd like to call up to the podium Mr. DJ Story from Peel and Holland. He's here to give us our annual update on our health insurance benefits package, kind of wrap up the year and also look ahead a little bit. And DJ, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Judge. Yes, we've got good news to discuss today, talking about looking forward to the 2018 year, looking back over the costs that have incurred on the health benefits in 2017 up to this point, and projecting that out. So I will jump into that. Please stop me if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer any that I can. So quickly, the agenda is really just to kind of do a financial review of the current year, look at the 2018 renewal options, and then recommendations following those. So I'll keep it short and sweet, and if you guys have anything, just please let me know. So on the planned financial review, this is a snapshot of historical healthcare claims on a cost per covered life, so all the members on the plans. You can notice that top line is the actual number of covered members that we've had over the years, and then the bottom bar is that number of claims or total costs associated divided by those members. The 2015 and 16 we had some larger claims years. In 2017, taking the claims that we've had up until this point in the year and then projecting out for the remainder of the year, we're looking at a reduction in costs this year, and I think that goes back to a couple of different items. There were some large claimants that were on the plan that are no longer on the plan that has reduced the costs, but you also have some actions that were taken by the fiscal court in the previous year of changing some plans, moving some cost ownership onto the employees, and also integrating some culture of wellness, starting that process. And that's going to, I think, yield dividends year over year. So we're just starting to see that process start. A breakdown of where these costs come from. With being self-insured, the fiscal court, the majority of all the costs are going to come from the claims in the health plan. That's the large blue bar on all of these graphs is the number of claims totals that we've had and the projection through 2017. You can see that's the largest number associated there. The teal bar is the stop loss or the actual insurance that you purchase. So that's the insurance to say that anybody that incurs claims over that specific deductible, that's the reason you have that insurance in place, and that's the next largest piece. And then that dark purple or dark blue bar is the administrative costs that are associated with Anthem. So them to adjudicate and process claims and to get those network discounts, that's the money that you're paying for that. So you can see the 2017 projection costs of coming in just shy of what we were at in 2014, and obviously a large reduction from the 2015 and 2016 years. Again, based on a couple different factors, but making some changes in the plans and some reduction of costs that have occurred. You notice the red bar is not in the 2017 projected. The red bar is the reimbursements we receive if someone exceeds that specific deductible with the self-insurance. We haven't had anybody and don't project anybody to exceed that at this point in this year, so that is a positive thing because over time it keeps your cost of insurance down. So that's a positive thing, but you're not having those reimbursements. Are there any questions regarding the annual cost details or where we're at so far?
Maybe one. I really don't know if you have the answer, but what do you think contributes to that $1 million reduction? I mean, just kind of in general. You said there's some items there.
Yeah.
Share with us what that might be.
The largest immediate impact was the fact that we had some high-cost claimants that were associated with the plan that had some very large claims that came in the last couple of years, and those persons are not on the plan any longer. And so that is the immediate cost reduction. The secondary factor, I think, is the changes in plans we made last year. We removed one of the high buy-up plans that helped people incurred more costs than any of the other plans that were associated. Additionally, it kind of shifted a little bit more ownership into the members' hands as far as what their cost was. But inversely, we also administered an HRA that allowed them to pay for some of those low-end costs. So if someone's just going for preventive care and some other minor services, that they could help those people could get that paid for. So it really just shifted more costs to the people that were costing more on the plan anyway.
And then obviously it looks like we're being pretty good consumers of the product now. So
Yes, Yeah,
we're
that's
managing
correct.
well,
Yeah.
so.
What we always say is the claims are the claims. We can't predict
Right.
if someone's going to have a very large claim that comes in, but what we can do is just try to mitigate that risk as much as possible and try to keep those ongoing conditions manageable if we can. And that's a credit to the court is implementing more wellness programs that can help people kind of take more ownership of their care.
Thank you.
I have one
Yes.
question going back to that. Looking at the administrative cost, if you look at the percentages, their administrative cost is actually greater when our fees are less than it was when it was higher. And if they're administrating to get discounts, it's almost like their administrative fee went up as much as our discounts that they would have gotten for us. So I'd
Well-
almost rather have a lower fee and do away with the discounts because I think they're absorbing the discounts in their administrative.
Well, I think it's that's a great point, Magistrate. But I think that there's a fee that's associated, and the PEPM fee that's associated with administrative costs it's been an increase, but it's been relatively consistent. The thing is, you're dealing with a smaller number than when you are with the claims. So with the discounts that we're receiving on this account are in the range of 50 to 60% off of a gross charge. So if you look at the claims that you're receiving at 1.2, if we had and some other carriers in the area might get a 30 or 40% discount. If you're talking about doubling that amount of claims and then getting a 10 or 15% reduction, that number grows rather quickly. But it's a great point, and we want to always make sure that we monitor that and make sure that the administrative and the insurance cost doesn't exceed the amount of benefit the court is receiving by the discount percentage. So we always want to monitor that. Any other questions? So the 2018 renewal, just to jump into that with the medical plan, Anthem's fixed costs were just a slight change. It was a 0.2% increase in the actual fixed cost, the actual cost of the administrative insurance piece that we talked about. So just a very slight adjustment to that for the 2018 renewal. Anthem is suggesting a 14.7% increase in expected claims cost. Again, Anthem is going to set a number as far as expected claims that is a projection. It's a soft dollar amount. It's not an actual amount that you're paying. They're just setting an expectation of claims. Even if we're budgeting towards the maximum, so there's an expected and a maximum, even if we're budgeting toward the maximum amount of exposure for this year, we're under the Henderson County's fiscal court budget for healthcare, which is set at $2.1 million for 2018. That maximum liability on the plan is $2.099 million for the maximum liability, and that does not include a reduction for the employee premiums because the employee's paying a portion of this cost. That's obviously going to reduce the county's exposure as well. So I think this is good news. They're setting a increase in as far as just, and I think part of this is just medical and RX inflation is the reason they're setting a higher expectation. The other piece of this puzzle is that because of those plan changes, they did a significant reduction in the expected amount for the previous year. We had a little bit more than that, what they expected the previous year, so they're going to come back and say they're going to step that expected number up because they're wanting to add some padding in for the expected amount and the maximum amount of exposure that they're going to have. But the good news is that even with that maximum liability, we're under the healthcare budget.
And to have an increase in fixed costs of only 0.2%.
Correct.
Is terrific, don't you think?
Yes, yeah, because that's the actual dollars that we know you're going to spend. The fixed cost amounts are the dollars that we know that are going to the premium amount and the administrative costs. Those are costs we can't. Those aren't going to fluctuate with claims. The claims amount is what we want to try to monitor and keep those people in healthy lifestyle to keep those claims down over time. So, yes. Any questions regarding the renewal? The other renewals in regards to the plan or the dental and the vision renewal, just quick information on those. The 2018 dental is with HRI. They had a rate hold for this current year, so no changes to that plan. We would recommend staying with HRI. There's no issues that we know of. 2018 vision will continue with Anthem. It's a 3.23% increase. That annualizes to just $685 a year. So it's a much smaller number than we're talking with the medical. So I would just recommend keeping that plan as well. And basically, I think the things that we have in place have been positive, making those plan changes, including that HRA to help people with the cost of their care. We would just recommend maintaining plans and products as they currently are. That budget amount is underneath the fiscal court's budget for the 2018 year, so we would recommend just holding rates and plans for the 2018 year.
Another thing I'd like to point out is one of our goals in the changes we made last year was to create an escrow account and put back money we saved in order to have cushion in case we had unusual claims or any kind of emergencies. And right now that account sits at approaching $250,000, which is terrific in case these projections don't quite work out the way we hope or we have some unusual claims activity. We'll be able to dip into that reserve instead of going and asking the employees for more money or finding it in the general fund somewhere. And part of the expectation.
That's a great point, Judge. Is that I think the accounts through the CAECO Benefits Association and through Peel and Holland as advisory services, the ones that do the best over time with self-insurance are ones that are being fiscally responsible and budgeting towards that max or amount, because the long and the short of it is when you have a self-insured account, you're going to have a bad year, 1 or 2 out of every 10. It's just going to happen. You're going to have some claims that are going to hit. So if you have that escrow account and you're budgeting for that, you're going to set yourself up for success long term. So that's a very good point.
So we're staying the course. Bottom line, we're staying the course. I think we're doing the things we need to keep costs down. We don't anticipate any change in the level of contribution we require from employees next calendar year. They'll stay the same. Any increase, that slight increase in fixed costs will be absorbed or is absorbed in the budget. It's part of our budgeting process. So that's good news. We will have to sign a contract with Anthem to accept this summary, and I think, Mr. Gold, we got you that contract in advance. All looks good to you. Any thoughts or concerns? So I'll entertain any kind of questions or if anybody has anything extra they want to add, or a motion to accept the report and to enter into a contract with Anthem for the 2018 calendar year for our insurance.
I move we accept the report and to move into a contract with Anthem next year.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other questions or concerns for Mr. Story or anybody? Okay, you can call for a vote, please.
Magistrate Wilkerson. Aye. Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
Magistrate Moore.
Aye.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
And Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Thank you, DJ, and thanks for all your help that you give us in working this out every year and trying to do the best we can for our team.
Thank you, Judge. Look
Also,
forward to
Judge,
serving.
I'd like to thank Angela, because dealing with health care, it's got to be a job. I mean, a hard job, and you do an excellent job. If she deals with as many of the county employees as she has to deal with me, I pity, because she really helps me, and I know there's a lot like me out there too.
You know,
So
I'm really glad you mentioned Angela. People might have no clue the heroic efforts she makes, not only every day, but some weeks are worse than others in making sure we keep this straight for our county. And we have a lot of help up here with our team on the 3rd floor, but Angela's a superstar. And health insurance.
it's almost like, if I have a question, I don't know, call Angela.
Can be a blessing and a curse. But I think we all understand health insurance is one of the most complicated appropriations and expenses that we deal with. And to have a good partnership with Peel and Holland and Angela's understanding of the ins and outs is an absolute benefit to us. So I second the thoughts of Magistrate Alexander. Thank you, Angela.
Trust me, I lean on them a lot for good questions that are asked.
Yeah.
They're big help. Big.
Everybody's leaning on everybody then.
All right, at this point, I'd like to ask Mike Shockley if he'd come to the podium. You have in your packets a resolution involving a change order that has to do with our 911 system update and replacement. And before anybody gets too nervous, the bottom line here is no added cost to the county. So on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Mike Shockley to explain a little bit about what we're looking at.
One of the things we've been looking at is by the contract they have to have a certain percentage of coverage, which is 95% of the county has to be covered. And they can't have big holes in areas, and also it has to be 97% reliability throughout the county. And when we did our test, if you remember, we tested probably 3 different times already through the whole county. I'm sure you had, I know the sheriff's office had calls and everything. Why are these trucks going through my fields and everything else? So, we're trying to test every little quarter mile of the county that we could get to. We had boats and everything out there. But ultimately what happened was they failed the test. Motorola did. So we got together with our consultant and with Motorola and discussed options we could do. The option that we chose, Mr. Goh was up there. Our city attorney was also up there for this meeting. And we chose to go with putting a new tire or a new antenna on the water tower out in the Spotsville area, which our biggest area and our biggest hole that we saw was in the Spotsville basket area. And they had made one projection to put something on the Basket Fire Department, but us as a committee looked at that and said, if you're trying to fix that, that's only going to fix Basket. We want to fix more of an area if we can. So they agreed to that, and with negotiations and everything, it's not going to cost the city or county any more money. And saying that, we will be still going ahead and going live on the system. The plan is to go live October 23rd at this moment. And we are going to make aware those areas where the holes are, make them aware of what the holes are. It's still not saying it won't get out guaranteed. It just ain't going to have the 97% reliability in those areas, and there's going to be some holes there. But we're going to make sure we discuss that with them and talk with them over that. Mr. Goh, do you have anything you would like to add?
Well, Mike and his team, along with Brent, did a great job in working with Motorola on this, because you should have seen what they wanted at first. This extra tower, they were going to eat the cost, but they were going to charge a lot more for warranty fees going in the future. And they took a hard line on that and did a great job, and Motorola ended up realizing that it was their mistake, and they ate it. And this does get that more populous area of the Basket, Reed, Spotsville area covered a lot better. And there will still be holes, but a lot of those holes are going to be places that aren't very populated. So as far as reaching the population of Henderson County, it's going to be a very high percentage of that. Is that a fair statement?
That is correct. And, compared to what we got right now, it's a whole lot more better coverage. And I will say that after they get all this done, we will have to wait on foliage to come back, but we are going to retest. They wanted to just retest that area, and we said, no, you're adding something to the system, so we want to make sure something don't happen to the rest of the system. So we will be retesting the whole system even after that, and if it fails, they're going to have to do something else to make sure it works. So we will not sign off on it until it comes up. And the other thing is, the warranty don't start until we officially sign off. So we still have technically a warranty through all this while we're alive, but the official warranty does not start until we officially sign off on it permanently.
And that was something that became important, because beneficial use, being able to use it, is a lot of times a milestone in contracts like this, and a lot of times when warranties start, and that was something Motorola was kind of talking about. But in this situation, everything starts once we finally accept it. So hopefully it's up and working perfectly, and then we can sign off saying we finally accept it. And that should be, there's a timeline for that, isn't there, Mike? They
expect,
it's been moving, but
it's already actually started the process, but they're hoping by the end of this year they'll have that tire up and running. So, even though it's not official, we may already be up and running on that tire and have better coverage before the end of the year. But the main thing is, we won't officially sign off until we do another test to make sure we're satisfied with it. Our consultant has been very key on making sure there's key words in the statement. I know he added, I think 3 sentences after they did, and said, no, I need this sentence, because just to protect us. So he has been very beneficial in what we've done on this.
But because this is a change in the original agreement, we have to have a resolution acknowledging the change order and then vote on it. But again, this is done at Motorola's expense completely, and I appreciate the committee's work to make sure that our interests are protected and this works as we hope it will. So, any other questions of Mr. Shockley?
Mike, if you'll refresh my memory, when you say 97%, is it 97% of the land mass, or 97% of the population?
First of all, it's 95% county coverage. That's everything.
So that's land mass.
That's water, that's land, everything.
Okay. Oh, well, water.
And it's divided by quarter-mile tiles.
Gotcha.
97% reliability.
Okay.
Meaning it has to work 97% of the time.
Okay.
Which is very, very high and everything. So.
And the reason why I was asking, because I could see, well, okay, it could be, say, 95% population, but then you could have had like areas of Reed Bills or Geneva that maybe only 80% was covered land mass or water. But I understand. So it's land mass, water is 95%, which is good.
Yes, it's not population; it's just land and the water and everything. And like I said, there's going to be some holes out there. Yeah. I mean, there's not going to be a perfect system, unfortunately. But that don't mean it don't work. It just means it don't have the 97% reliability out there.
And Magistrate Warren, I think this particular additional tower, just so you know, I think is almost specifically designed to have better coverage on the eastern end of the county.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
Because that was a problem.
Right.
And I will also mention that, and the sheriff and everybody can back me up on this, but portables, we all know, don't get out as well as mobiles do. And this test, the 95%, is portable on your hip.
Really?
So, if the portable don't get out, it don't mean the mobile won't work either. So that's another key thing there.
Any other questions? I'd like clerk to read the resolution.
Okay. Whereas the City of Henderson, Henderson County Fiscal Court, and Motorola Solutions are parties to a contract relating to the 911 communication radio upgrade project, and whereas during coverage testing for the 911 radio system, an area in the county is not getting coverage, which necessitates certain modifications to the contract to obtain additional equipment to provide coverage to at least 95% of Henderson County. And whereas a change order is necessary which modifies the original contract to add a fourth simulcast remote site with the same 700 MHz as the three existing simulcast sites to allow Henderson County and City of Henderson to begin the period of beneficial use for the new system that is in place without beginning the warranty period until all project components, including the fourth simulcast component, are complete and final acceptance has been granted, and updating the completion date to June 30th, 2018 due to the additional simulcast remote site. Whereas the change order does not necessitate any further cost to Henderson County, see Exhibit A for the detailed change order. Now, therefore, be it resolved by Henderson County Fiscal Court that change order to the Motorola Solutions is hereby approved, and the county judge is authorized and directed to execute the change order on behalf of the county.
Can I get a motion to accept that?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
Magistrate Warren.
Aye.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
And Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Thanks again to Mr. Shockley and Mr. Gold for working on that for us. I'd like to call Treasurer.
Judge, I had just a quick question for the sheriff. Does this affect your coverage in any way?
Yes.
Are you?
I want to make one quick comment, too, about this. Going to the new system, even though it's not up and complete and like the percentages that they want, it's still so far superior to what we're using right now. We have many more holes with our system now than we will have even without the completion of this system. And one thing I think was important when we were last meeting, I was going to ask for it, but the city suggested it before I did, and I want to compliment Mike and Chief Stauffer. The installation of the radios, they had a schedule for that, and the city was going to get it first, and we were on down the road a little ways. And the city suggested they install it in the sheriff's vehicles first because most of the holes are out in the county, and we need better communications, and the city's almost totally covered, and they decided they could wait for theirs because it was more critical for the sheriff. So, Mike, I want to compliment you guys on moving us up the ladder because they felt the need of communications was worse for us and would be better if we were installed first. So, tremendous, and for our volunteer fire departments, going to be a tremendous difference in our coverage and our ability. If that portable will reach 95%, that car will reach 100%. Not 100, but it's going to get real close because it's much more powerful. It's going to be a tremendous difference for our emergency responders.
Any other questions, Charles? Good. Thank you, Sheriff Brady. I'd like to call Treasurer Brenda Ryder up to update us on claims.
I have 5 claims from the general fund payable to Classic Automotive, $835.60. This is to come from the sheriff's vehicle repair expense line. The second, payable to PTS of America, $4,437.50. This is to come from the sheriff's prisoner transport expense line. The third, to Visa in the amount of $856.26. This is to come from the sheriff's office supply and meeting expense and fuel expense lines. The fourth, to Visa in the amount of $852.50. This is to come from the judge's office meeting expense and the fiscal court meeting expense. The fifth claim is from the LGEA fund in the amount of $5,000 to the Henderson Music Preservation Society, or the WC Handy, and this is a budgeted appropriation in this year's fiscal year budget.
A motion to approve those?
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions? Get a vote, please.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
Magistrate Warren.
Aye.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
And Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gentlemen, we have a member of the County Water District Board rolling off, Brian Pritchett, and both on the advice of the board and Pete Conrad, it is recommended that Brian Pritchett's term be re-upped. He wants to serve again, and that is seen with agreement from the board and Pete Conrad. So I'd like to nominate Brian Pritchett to once again be reappointed to a term on the Henderson County Water District Board. You can get a motion to approve that, or any questions about that?
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions about that? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
Magistrate Warren.
Aye.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
And Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Thank you. And Mr. Gold, your report, please.
Judge, I've got several checks today. The first being reimbursement for salaries, FICA, and retirement in the amount of $1,976.20. Health, dental, and life insurance in the amount of $360.82. Jail fees collected, $469.94. And that makes the total remitted to the county today $2,806.96. And the total for the fiscal year present to date, $38,071.09. And Ken, can you help me out there and hand that to the judge, please?
It's a lot of money, Ken. Thank you. Get a motion to accept the county attorney payments.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
Magistrate Warren.
Aye.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
And Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. Before we move to go to the county, I'd like to ask Coroner Bruce Farmer to come forward. There's an invoice in your packets that I'd like Mr. Farmer to describe and to talk about a little bit and maybe answer some questions on.
Thank you, Your Honor. Basically, before 1985, the coroner's office was in whatever local funeral home was the coroner at the time. Whenever Dr. Cantley took over in July of '85, our office space became bottom stairwell here in the corner of the building when the former coroner's staff brought a couple file cabinets. So we had no place, the county had no place for us to go. Dr. Cantley talked with the hospital, and the hospital's been furnishing the coroner's office space at no charge since 1985. We're currently moved over into what was the old ambulance service building up there on the hospital property, and they have loaned us a portable refrigeration unit so we're not having to take deceased remains through the hospital and all for storage. That building had been it's 25 years old. For 5 years, all the utilities were shut down in the building and not working. They came over there and painted and cleaned up and made the space for us and even enlarged the doors so we can get the cooler in. But the heating and air conditioning system was an old system that hadn't been being used. They've been keeping it patched together for about the last year. There are times whenever we'd walk in the office to work and temperature would be 85 degrees and above in there, just totally unbearable. The unit has gone out again. The hospitals looked at it. They brought in an outside contractor that they used, and they said there's too many things wrong with the unit to try to fix it now. They were recommending replacing the unit. The hospital came to me that since they haven't been charging us utilities or rent since '85, and they've made this place available to us now, if we would look at the expense of putting in a heating and air conditioning unit, since we're the ones using that building now. I told them I would come to the court and ask for such an expenditure. If not, then the county's going to have to find us someplace to move, and right now there's no real place for us to move to that we know of in asking around. So the hospital got an estimate from the outside contractor that they are using right now, which is Hager and Son here in town. And their estimate, and they assure me this is awful close, is for $3,898 to replace that unit in the building that we're using. And so I come before y'all today asking for y'all's support to make this expenditure. The judge has told me we're going to take it out of one of my line item budgets right now. If we have to adjust it later, we'll adjust it later. But there is funds there to do this, and like I said, if we don't do it, we're going to have to find someplace else to move us, and that's going to be a big expense, where we've been real fortunate since '85. So that's my request today, is asking if we can, if the court would consider this expenditure for a heating and air conditioning unit.
I guess my
Go ahead.
question would be, can we spend money on property we don't actually own, or
Right.
as far as maintaining a building that we're actually renting?
The hospital's maintaining the building. They're going to continue to maintain the building, and they will maintain this heating and air conditioning unit for us, where it'll basically become attached to the building.
I understand that. It's just, can we legally spend money on a property that we?
And that's a very fair question. I mean, for example, you said it will become a fixture to the building,
Yes.
which means that if a year from now they decide that you need to leave, what happens to the county's heating and air conditioning system?
I've been assured at this point they're not planning on asking us to leave. But,
Steve,
you know,
couldn't we get
things can happen at any time.
Couldn't we get like a year's lease,
Well,
which would be equivalent of $300 a month, which is what this is going to cost, and then we
And
lease
I
it?
was wondering if there's an existing lease. Is there an existing lease with them?
My
Any sort of-
concern is at the end of the year, would they just want to go back to us not paying anything like we have been, or are they going to expect that continually then? There's
Right,
new-
so
there's-
right now it's just a handshake deal is what you're saying?
It wasn't even a handshake. They said, "Here, we're going to take care of you." And like I said, the hospital's gone through several administration changes, and we're still there. They've been real nice to us, since '85. And like I said, but anything can change at any time.
But there's not a written agreement
There's no
allowing you. to
There never
stay.
has been.
Okay.
No.
That's what we do.
If we want to do one and ask them if we can keep this up, that's up to the county.
What if we had a written lease agreement for this fiscal year in this amount, reviewable at the end of the term listed on the lease?
That's what I'm thinking we ought
That would probably be cleanest to set it up as a lease, and then pay them the amount necessary to take care of the heating and air, and that could be the rental.
Would you recommend at the end of the 1 year, we go back to the agreement we have now, which isn't an agreement?
Well, I think
That's
we'll
up to
just
me.
make it, we'll renew the relationship at the end of the lease. Hopefully they'll be able to,
However the court wants to do it, we're more than willing to do. But, if our volume and all, and having access to the cooler unit that we haven't had to buy, it makes things a lot easier for us at this point in time.
Let me entertain a motion to ask the hospital to issue us a bill for a lease in this amount for the rest of this fiscal year, and reviewable at the end of that term.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
On
Makes sense.
discussion, I was going to ask, so what we need to do, I think, is on this agreement is, now, I think everybody knows this hospital is under especially going to be a big change here for long in this hospital thing. That's the rumors I'm hearing, that like Deaconess is going to possibly take it over, that kind of thing, sell it to Deaconess or something. So what's going to happen if something like that happened? Not sell it, but take it over. I don't know how they do that. But management.
None of us can even begin to imagine what may be taking place. We know it's going through a lot of changes, and being an employee of the hospital, trust me, I know and have been concerned about that too. And who knows, maybe we can make arrangements that if it's something they didn't need, we try to take over the building. See, the building was built originally for the ambulance service that one was at no charge to the city and county, and was never charged. We weren't even charged utilities in that building. The only expenses that the ambulance service started having was when we went to the South Y, and we were paying utilities down there. And then whenever the state bought that property, the hospital went in agreement with the city and county, built the building we're in now, and the city and county paid it off over a 5-year period at no interest, and then they signed it over to the city and county. So the hospital administration that we've been working with has been really good really helpful to the coroner's office and the ambulance service per se.
Steve,
we don't know what could happen tomorrow.
let me ask you another question. Since next year will be the end of our term, can we sign a lease beyond next year? And the reason why I'm saying that, in Bruce's protection, maybe the ideal situation would be to set this up for a 36-month lease, $100 a month for whatever amount this is. That gives him 3 years of protection. And even if there's a change in administration at the hospital, he's got 3 years of staying, not wrapping it up at the end of this year. But can we obligate the court beyond our term?
No. There are some situations where that is possible, but in a lease situation, that's very difficult. Right now, what you've got under the law is referred to as a tenancy at sufferance. You were there as long as they suffer your presence to be there. I mean, that's what they call a tenancy at sufferance.
I tried not to suffer. I tried to be.
But that's what it's referred to in the law. And so you could go back there today, and there could be an eviction notice for all you know. So right now, there's absolutely no predictability to it other than your prior history.
Yes, sir.
So, I think there are issues as far as binding a future coroner and binding a future fiscal court. It just depends on how everything is structured, and I would be glad to get in touch with David Park at the hospital and have some discussions and hopefully come back with something we can present to them.
I think both for our flexibility at the moment and because of the questions surrounding the hospital, keeping it to near term, it probably works best, and then kind of convening again when this current lease agreement that we work out ends and figuring out where we go from there. It may involve a different situation. You never know.
Yeah.
But I think to take care of this issue, especially as we head into winter, in a fair way, we have a motion and a second on kind of a short-term lease at this amount, and we can work out the details with Mr. Park. Is that acceptable to everybody? Any other further comments, taking into account everything that you just mentioned?
Yeah, because I've heard from reliable sources, so has everybody else, is that something's going to change.
Yeah.
There is a agreement of understanding in referrals and all like that's in the process now. The hospital president's been making everybody aware of that, and the hospital board. everybody's been speculating about other things, and we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, we don't.
Separate topic.
Yeah, wholeheartedly. But like I said, right now the office is unbearable trying to work in there, and I'm afraid the heat, I don't want it affecting that cooler unit, because we already did some repairs on it because it wasn't used to being used as much as we've been using it. And that's my only concern. If we have to go through a lease and it takes us a month or so, it's going to be tough using that area.
Well, again, we have a motion and a second. We'll take a vote, and then we'll try to communicate why we did it this way as quickly as possible and get an invoice back and get it underway.
Okay.
So we have a
whatever the wishes of the court are. Thank you.
motion and a second. Any other questions? Please take a vote.
Could I ask who made the motion? And you made the motion. Who seconded? Putman? Okay. All right. Thank you. Magistrate Wilkerson. Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
Magistrate Warren.
Aye.
And Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
We'll figure that out. Is there anybody else in the audience today who has anything they'd like to say for the good of the county? Please come forward.
Judge and court, I'd just like to give you an update. Martin Road, the bridge replacement, the bridge will be delivered today to start being erected. The piers have been poured. We have armored the banks, and we're progressing. Hopefully, we'll have the bridge in place and opened up by the end of the month, by the time the concrete piers cure out. Also, we have started our resurfacing of county roads. We have done the Smith Mills Volunteer Fire Department, the 2 roads in Charles's district. Yesterday, this past week, we got some of Bruce's roads done and some of George's roads done yesterday. So we're continuing.
Thank you for
on.
Wathen Lane.
Yes, you're welcome. We should finish up next week on that. If you get any calls about the road edging, please tell your constituents that we will be coming back once the asphalt has cured enough for us to get our equipment on it to dress up the sides of the road. We had to peel them back to make sure that they got the roadways covered completely as much as possible. Also, I had a request from one of the residents on Green River Road about possible widening that road. I have an MPO meeting this week, and I would like to do a traffic count on that road. I know that since we widened out Wolf Hills Road, the traffic has grown on that area of the road, both Wathen Lane and I'm sure Green River Road has also expanded. One of the things we'll need to look at, though, is there is a portion of the city, once they get past the curb and gutter by Grantwood Hills, it narrows in to the same width as our road. So we'd probably look at having to do a joint project with the city to widen both the city's portion of the road and the county's portion of the road so that it would match out and be much safer. So, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Anybody else like to say anything for the good of the county? Please introduce yourself.
My name is Carly Eblin. I'm here on behalf of the Livestock Committee for Henderson County 4-H. What we're doing is we're putting a building out there by the Hugh McCormick out there at the fairgrounds. What this building does, it'll be specifically for all of the livestock and basically all of the youth that are showing their animals out there. We're selling rib tickets, and they're $20 per ticket. If you all want any, please let me know for donation towards this building. Any donations also can be written out to us, and we'll put it towards that. A plaque will be basically distributed towards anybody that donates money towards that. What this building does is we have improved throughout the year just on youth itself. This year we had 63 kids that showed this year, and is continuing to grow. My husband Jonathan and I, we were the livestock leaders for the cattle part, and it's the first time in 30 years that we've had a cattle program. If you've never been to the fair or a county show, it's definitely something to see. The looks on these kids' faces is unbelievable. and they love what they do. So towards this building, it'll be used for workshops throughout the winter also, because we're starting the circuit right now. We have a meeting tonight, and this will kick off the year for next year. Workshops, any types of clinics, since we will be opening it to other counties will be using this facility as well. And it gives the kids something to look forward to and a bigger building to show in. And like I said earlier, our numbers have increased, and it's something to definitely be proud of. I know that I'm not originally from here, so 4-H was huge where I was from, and so when I moved down here, it was slowly getting started. And since now that I'm a member of this livestock committee, it is grown, and that's what I like to see. And why am I here? Not only to talk to you all about this building and to get money or whatever. It's not about that. It's about these kids. The youth is a number one thing for me. I know I'm not very old, but the youth is huge. These kids are like my family, and they need this. So whatever y'all would like to do, that'd be very great. So thank you.
I think there are a lot of rib enthusiasts on the fiscal court, so hang out afterwards. I do assume that you're working closely with both Mitzi Weber and Mr. Hubiak on the construction of this building, and everybody understands its location and utility and any other questions involving construction. Is that right, Mr. Bill? Yep. Okay.
Yes, we had met with the 4-H group. Basically, they have already outgrown their facility, and they were looking to build a second structure. They have got a $5,000 grant through the state, and we're looking to build a 60-foot wide by 120-foot shelter, which is basically over double the size of the existing one. Existing is 60 by 40, and last year they did not have enough room to have all the animals be contained in the shelter, so we had to make other arrangements, and this will give them more area, and they are growing it so much that they, with the children's participation, they once they finish this, if they achieve their goal, they want to take the existing 40 by 60 and extend it out another 60 feet to match the other length of the building. So.
Excellent. Any other questions for Carla?
Is it going to be have any type of enclosure to it, or will it just be a
It'll just be open inside the building.
okay. I'll get with you afterwards.
Sure.
I know somebody may help.
I'm kind of excited. It's a good thing for our youth. My daughter was in 4-H, and I was involved in it when she was in it. And the rodeo, they have the rodeo out there, and we watch the young kids ride the horses and the barrels, and that's a good area, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it's awesome. This year for the fair, we had so many new things, and livestock is a huge thing of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And these kids to get involved young, at such a young age, and to learn about the agriculture and the livestock industry is huge. So that's what we push for, that's what I push for, and that's how we start our youth. So,
Well, thank you very much.
thank you.
Congratulations. Look forward to seeing that go up. Magistrate Putnam.
Ken, congratulations. I think you're off on the right foot for sure. Hopefully as you grow and continue down through life's journey, that you continue with all this excitement, and you can always look back on this day that said, hey, look, got a proclamation. Pretty big deal. So to have a day in your honor in Henderson County is, you got two reasons to celebrate now. Your birthday for sure, right? Then your proclamation day that you received it. But congratulations. And Judge, everything is good in the fourth. Thank you very much.
And I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, thank you.
Magistrate Warren.
Ken, I want to echo what Magistrate Putman said, but maybe in another way too, is that there was an old saying that once you get to where you're going, there you are. And I think it's important that as you're making a trip through life that you don't forget about where you came from and where you grew up. And I know Bengate was important to me when I grew up, that it kind of was my foundation. And I think Bengate is a excellent school. And gosh, it's grown from when I was there. But you'll look back at Bengate and you'll remember some of those things that you did, and maybe even when you're off in college, hopefully, and if not, advancing your education at whatever level that may be. But I know you're going to do well because you're already doing well. So, and nice to have your one of your teachers here to sit with you, because he obviously cares about what you're doing. Oh, and Bill, thank you for. I've had some compliments on Watson Lane as well for that blacktop, because it's just so much smoother. So
We are going to strike that one too.
Good. Yeah. Great.
Master Alexander.
Well, all's well in the third. As far as I know, everything's going pretty good, and congratulations on your award. And I hope you continue to progress on and get more awards in your life. I'm sure you will. This is a good start. It's important. Thank you.
Master Wilkerson.
And congratulations. Everything's good in District 5.
Master Todd.
What everybody else said. Ken, congratulations, and we're proud of you. I know your family and friends are proud of you. It's a big day. You know, you get picked out of all the students in the school, and you get chosen. So I'm sure you're doing a good job. And we just thank you, and everything's good in District 2. And thanks for the blacktop.
Mr. Gold.
Thank you, Judge. Ken, first of all, it's nice to meet you. We've had a lot of fun here together talking about a lot of the things going on in court, and sometimes the what I call them boring but important things. We did a few of those today, didn't we? And, I was thinking as we were starting this meeting that, we start with a prayer and then we do the pledge. And that's a pretty good day to start, or a pretty good way to start any day, isn't it? Right? Be thankful for what we have, and then remember that we are one nation. Even though people try to divide us, we are one nation under God, indivisible, can't be divided. We can't let people try to do that. So I know you're going to go out there and you're going to do everything you can do to make the world a better place, aren't you? We're talking about that a little bit. Take care. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. And Ken, be thinking about where you want to have lunch, and we can continue this conversation. Just let me know afterwards. Congratulations. We're glad you had a good representative group here to support you, and we're proud of everything you're doing. Keep it up. I want to remind everybody that harvest is still underway, and I appreciate the road department's efforts to work with our farm community to make sure that everything goes as smoothly as possible. From what I hear, and maybe Magistrate Alexander can back me up on this, so far so good, especially with the roads that are graveled, and keeping them in good shape, and working with all of our farmers to do everything we can to help them get through this very important period of the year for them. This is also the first year that volunteer fire department dues will be appearing on the property tax bills, and because this is a new program, there will no doubt be some hiccups or some challenges, and we encourage everybody to be patient. If anybody has questions, please call the judge's office. Invariably, there will be some mistakes made, so just everybody take a deep breath, and I think we're going to have a story in the Gleaner coming up today or tomorrow that kind of reiterates some of this and answers some questions, but we will get through it, and we will achieve the goals that we wanted to when we passed it in the first place, and we can only get better at it as we go. And we really want to congratulate the City of Henderson for winning the Green River Area Development District's Community of the Year Award last night. Mayor Austin was there to accept the award with City Attorney Don Kelsey. Magistrate Warren and I were both on hand to applaud them, and one of the major factors behind their victory was the Vision Henderson plan that they worked on for more than a year to try to achieve some community goals, some benchmarks that they could work toward. And it was fun to hear the presenter kind of tick off some of the goals that have been reached and the ones that are very close at hand. and even remind us of the farther-reaching long-term goals that the city set. And I know many people in this room helped in that vision plan and had input, and it's good to see recognition for that effort. So we're very proud of them. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor can leave.